Everything's gone. The entire system just shut down. The chilling words sliced through the tension in the air like a knife. On the 38th floor of Langford Tech's glass-clad headquarters, chaos was unraveling in real time. The company, once celebrated as the golden child of the software world, was now drowning in digital darkness. Servers crashed. Code vanished. Customer data wiped clean. Hundreds of employees, each glued to their desks only moments ago, now sat stunned, staring into pitch-black monitors as if willing them to flicker back to life. Some gasped. Others frantically tapped keyboards, replugged monitors, rebooted machines. Nothing worked. Across the open-plan floor, department heads shouted across glass-walled offices. Marketing couldn't access campaign data. Sales had lost access to CRM. Developers were blind. The backbone of Langford Tech was broken. Phones were ringing nonstop, clients demanding explanations. Social media already had posts popping up about the company's mysterious outage. Investors, connected via live stream just 5 minutes ago for the $1.3 billion AI system launch, were now staring at a frozen loading screen. And at the very center of the storm stood Victoria Langford, CEO, founder, and the face of the brand. Her perfectly pressed navy blue blazer now felt like armor too heavy for her frame. Her breathing was sharp and shallow. Her phone vibrated nonstop in her hand, displaying a stream of angry messages. But she couldn't focus on any of them. She stepped forward slowly, looking out over her office floor, the empire she had built brick by brick over 11 grueling years. And now, in under 60 seconds, it was collapsing. The CTO, Eric Wells, wasn't answering his phone. Last seen heading out for coffee. Lead engineers were already yelling over one another. Could be a DDoS attack. No, I think it's a system overload. Maybe a backdoor in the last update? It's the AI. I told you it wasn't fully stable. But no one knew for sure. Victoria turned to the large digital screen at the front of the room, meant to display the demo that would make history. All it showed was a blank, flickering gray screen with a single error code, fatal. System. Exception .0x77492. Her heart sank. The company's credibility, its stock value, its reputation, all of it was tied to this moment. Months of preparation. Millions spent. The eyes of the tech world were watching. She reached for the emergency call button on the wall, but hesitated. Her hand trembled. "We're finished," she whispered. Those 2 words weren't meant for anyone else to hear, but they traveled fast. In a room filled with silence, every whisper became a scream. Amid the chaos, as executives scrambled and engineers shouted over one another, a quiet voice rose from the back of the room. Calm, clear, and utterly unexpected. "I think I can help." For a moment, no one turned. The voice didn't belong to anyone on payroll. It wasn't barked with authority or panic like the others. But slowly, heads began to swivel. And there he stood. A teenager. No ID badge. No suit. Just a faded hoodie, worn jeans, and sneakers too big for his feet. He couldn't have been more than 16. Victoria Langford, still trying to process the disaster unfolding, turned sharply. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice tight with stress. The boy stepped forward, nervously rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm Jaden," he said. "My daddy's the janitor here. I come with him at night sometimes. While he's working, I sit in the server room. I just watch, learn, mess around with the sandbox systems when no one's using them." You could hear the oxygen leave the room. A few employees scoffed under their breath. Some looked confused. Others rolled their eyes or chuckled. "This is insane," someone whispered. "Now we've got the janitor's kid trying to fix a billion-dollar collapse." Jaden didn't flinch. His eyes remained locked on the large control panel, flashing red at the front of the room. He walked forward slowly, confidently, like he had done this before. The crowd instinctively parted to let him through. Victoria looked like she was about to stop him, but something in her, the desperation, maybe the faintest flicker of hope, held her back. "You're not supposed to even be near this system," she said, voice softer now, laced with disbelief. Jaden nodded. "I know, but I've been studying your architecture, your backup logs, your AI framework. especially the autonomous recovery protocol you're trying to implement. I noticed some inconsistencies a few weeks ago. I even wrote my own patch code for it." That turned heads. "What do you mean? You wrote your own patch?" one of the senior developers barked. Jaden didn't respond. Instead, he walked up to the main terminal, looked at the cascading lines of failure code, and took a deep breath. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, like a pianist about to perform. "Just give me 10 minutes, he said softly. "Don't touch anything. Please." Victoria's jaw tightened. Everything in her CEO brain told her this was a bad idea. Irresponsible. Unprofessional. Absurd. And yet, no one else had a solution. No one even understood what had happened. She turned to her staff. "No one touch anything," she said. "Give him space." The room fell completely silent. Jaden began to type. The next 10 minutes felt like an eternity. You could hear a pin drop on the 38th floor. The same office that had been a frenzy of ringing phones, panic typing, and raised voices was now frozen in breathless anticipation. Jaden's fingers danced across the keyboard with a kind of fluid precision that didn't match his age or his background. Lines of code flew across the screen, his eyes scanning every block like a seasoned professional. But he wasn't just reading. He was rewriting, rebuilding, rerouting systems in real time. One of the senior engineers crept closer, squinting at the screen. His jaw dropped slightly. "That's our prototype AI script," he whispered to a colleague. "It's never been tested live. It wasn't even enabled yet. How the hell does he know that?" Jaden didn't stop typing. "I tweaked it a bit," he muttered, his voice low and focused. Victoria, standing just behind him with her arms tightly crossed, frowned. "Wait, you what?" "I tweaked it," he repeated, eyes still on the screen. "Your AI's logic tree had redundancies that conflicted with your fallback protocol. I optimized it, added a recovery routine, rebuilt part of the decision tree with conditional overrides." Victoria blinked. "You tweaked our proprietary artificial intelligence." Jaden gave a small shrug. "Yeah, I was bored one night." A ripple of disbelief moved through the room. Who was this kid? Jaden reached into the script's core architecture, pulling in used segments of code that even Langford's top engineers hadn't fully documented yet. He used a self-correcting loop algorithm to bypass corrupted data blocks, accessed encrypted backup servers buried 3 layers deep, and manually triggered a recovery pulse that no one in the room had even known existed. The system flickered. A hush fell even deeper. Then, one by one, the screens lit up. Dashboards loaded. Client data repopulate. Emails flooded back into inboxes. The frozen investor feed updated in real time. Victoria's screen blinked to life with a single message. System stabilized. Primary functions restored. Gasps filled the room. Then came the clapping. One person started, then another, until the room was filled with thunderous applause, stunned cheers, and amazed laughter. Jaden stood up slowly. He looked around, not with pride, but calm assurance, like this wasn't even a big deal. He turned to Victoria and said, "That should hold things together until your main engineers can patch it properly. But I'd recommend isolating the deep learning module for now. It's still vulnerable if your external firewall isn't updated." The room fell silent again. Jaden casually unplugged the USB drive he had used to patch the script and tucked it into his hoodie pocket. No swagger, no cockiness, just quiet genius. And in that moment, everyone knew this wasn't luck. It wasn't guessing. Jaden had just saved an entire tech empire, like it was homework he finished early. Victoria Langford stepped forward slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor, echoing in the stunned silence. But it wasn't just her shoes that made noise. It was the weight of everything that had just happened. She looked at Jaden like she was seeing a ghost. This boy, this janitor's son, had just done what her $1 million tech team couldn't. He had saved the company in 10 minutes flat. Her voice trembled slightly, not from fear anymore, but from awe. How did you do that?" Jaden rubbed his hands together, suddenly shy now that the spotlight was on him. He looked down at the floor before answering, voice soft and humble. "I just watch. Learn. Experiment. You guys leave the doors open sometimes. I couldn't help it." A murmur of quiet astonishment passed through the room. People who had never even noticed Jaden before, who had walked past him dozens of times while he sat quietly in corners or helped his father clean, were now staring like they had just witnessed something impossible. Because they had. The janitor's son had outsmarted their entire tech team. One of the senior engineers shook his head, still in disbelief. He rewrote part of our AI logic from memory. Another employee whispered, he shouldn't even know that code exists. And yet he had. Then the elevator dinged. A senior investor stepped out, briefcase in hand, looking tense, until he saw the glowing screens, the standing ovation, and Jaden at the center of it all. He walked briskly over to Victoria, leaned in, and said quietly but firmly, hire him. Now. Full scholarship. Full mentorship. Whatever it takes. That kid is the future. Victoria turned back to Jaden, her CEO mind clicking into motion. She smiled, this time not with corporate polish, but with genuine respect. Jaden, would you like a job here? Or training? Or school? We'll fund any university you want. Whatever you need, it's yours. Jaden didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked past Victoria, through the crowd of stunned faces, to the glass hallway behind them. There stood his father, Mr. Reynolds, the janitor, mop in hand, uniform slightly worn, eyes wide, lips trembling. He had seen the whole thing. His son, the quiet boy he'd raised while working double shifts, was now being offered the world, and he couldn't stop the tears from falling. Jaden smiled softly. I'll take the offer, he said, but only if my dad gets promoted too. He deserves it more than me. The entire room went quiet again. No one laughed this time, because they all knew Jaden wasn't just smart. He had a heart bigger than the building he had just saved. Victoria blinked back emotion, then nodded. Deal. In the weeks that followed the incident, Jaden's story spread like wildfire. What started as whispers around the office turned into local news coverage, then national headlines, and then global attention. Janitor's son saves billion-dollar tech firm was the headline plastered across every major tech blog, newspaper, and social media feed. People couldn't get enough of it, a real-life genius hiding in plain sight, unnoticed, uninvited, but undeniable. His story struck a nerve. In an industry obsessed with degrees and titles, Jaden had broken through with nothing but raw talent and curiosity. Victoria Langford appeared on CNBC, Forbes, and TechCrunch interviews, and every time, the first question was the same. Is it true a janitor's son saved your company? She'd smile and reply, not only did he save it, he redefined what it means to belong here. Jaden was flooded with offers. Google extended him a paid internship. MIT reached out with a full scholarship to their AI innovation program. A billionaire investor even offered to fund his own startup if he wanted to launch his own AI platform. But Jaden, he turned most of them down. He stayed at Langford Tech, not because it was the biggest or the flashiest, but because it was his now. The place where he learned, observed, and quietly taught himself to see what others overlooked. He was promoted to junior AI architect within a month, the youngest team leader in Langford's history. His hoodie became iconic. His workstation, once an empty desk in the back corner, was now surrounded by some of the best minds in the company, all asking him for advice. He didn't act like a prodigy. He didn't gloat. He simply showed up, stayed humble, and got the job done. And what about his dad, Mr. Reynolds, who had mopped those floors quietly for over 12 years without ever asking for recognition? He was promoted to head of facilities, leading a team of 30. He got a new office, a better salary, and most importantly, respect. For the first time, people looked him in the eye when they spoke. They thanked him. They listened to him. And every day at lunch, you'd still see Jaden and his dad sitting together, laughing like nothing had changed, because in their hearts, it hadn't. They were still the same people, just finally seen. As for Victoria Langford, she changed more than just a few job titles. She changed company policy. On her first all-staff meeting after the crash, she stood before the entire team and said, "From today forward, Langford Tech is changing how we find talent. No more assumptions based on degrees or job titles. If someone has an idea, listen. You never know who might save the company next." She paused. Sometimes the person with the solution is already in the building. We just need to shut up and listen. The room erupted in applause. And just like that, a company once built on code became known for its character. And at the center of it all stood a boy with a hoodie, a heart, and a habit of quietly changing the world.